أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه آمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We continue our discussion on 24th word, 5th branch, second fruit. We went halfway through second fruit last week. So inshallah, today we will continue. But I will start reading from the very beginning. Just to remember where we were. Then we will continue discussing the second part or second half of second fruit, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. O soul, worship is not the introduction to additional rewards, but the result of previous bounties. Worship is not the introduction to additional rewards, but the result of previous bounties. Yes, we have received our wage and are accordingly charged with the duties of service and worship. Because, O soul, since the all-glorious Creator who clothed you in existence, which is pure good, and has given you a stomach and appetite through his name of provider, he has placed before you all foods on a table of bounties. So first he said existence is the pure good, and then he talked about stomach and appetite and all the sustenance that comes with it, which is another bounty. Then third, then since he has given you a life decked out with senses, life too requires sustenance like a stomach. All your senses like eyes and ears are like hands before which he has placed a table of bounties as broad as the earth. So the third one he said is life. Now comes fourth. Then because he has given you humanity, which requires many immaterial foods and bounties, he has laid out before that stomach of humanity, insofar as the hand of the mind can reach, an extensive table of bounties as broad as the worlds of both the inner and outer dimensions of things. Humanity as the fourth bounty. Then, since he has given you Islam and belief, which require infinite bounties and are nourished through countless fruits of mercy and our supreme humanity, he has opened up before you a table of bounties, pleasure, and happiness, which includes the sphere of contingency together with the sphere of his sacred names and attributes. So the fifth bounty is Islam and belief, which require infinite bounties. Then, through giving you love, which is a light of belief, and here is interesting, because he is now describing love as a light of belief. So one can ask the question, don't we have love without belief? So worthy to think about. Then, through giving you love, which is a light of belief, he has bestowed on you an endless table of bounties, happiness, and pleasure. That is to say, with regard to your corporeality, you are an insignificant, weak, impotent, lowly, restricted, limited particular. But through his favor, you have as though risen from being an insignificant particular to being a universal, luminous whole. For by giving you life, he has raised you from particularity to a sort of universality, and by giving you humanity to true universality, and by bestowing Islam on you to an exalted, luminous universality, and by giving you knowledge and love of him, He has elevated you to an encompassing light. So it looks like when he said through giving you love at the 6th level or 6th degree as a bounty, he was talking about love of Creator, love and knowledge of Creator. And I'm just going to reread this part again. Then through giving you love, which is a light of belief, he has bestowed on you an endless table of bounties, happiness, and pleasure. So now I continue from the next paragraph. O soul, you have received this wage, and you are charged with the pleasurable, bountiful, easy, and light duty of worship. But you are lazy in this too. If you perform it half-heartedly, it is as though the former wages are insufficient for you, and you are overbearingly wanting greater things. Also, you are complaining, why was my prayer not accepted? But your right is not complaint, it is supplication. Your right is not complaint, but your right is supplication. Through his pure grace and munificence, Almighty God bestows paradise and eternal happiness. So seek refuge in his mercy and munificence constantly. Trust in him and heed this decree. Say, in the bounty of God and his mercy, in that let them rejoice. That is better than the wealth, or that is better than what they hoard. So here we have a pause. Last week we discussed up to here. We talked about how those bounties are bounties and how is it related to worship. So the author in here, I guess in brief, saying that worship is our response to all those bounties that we have already received and we keep receiving constantly. So in essence, it's a response in two ways. First, just realizing that I am nothing but the recipient, because everything that he counted pretty much is what I would define as me or mine. But he says they are not yours, but they are constantly being given to you. So understanding this state of being just a recipient is already being in the state of worship, being in the minds of an abd, a worshipper. And second, there is also this responding back part of it. Like with, so I would use two words in here for what I was trying to say in terms of two separate ways. The first one is state of being worshipper. And the second one is to worship as in verb. So first one, understanding my state being a recipient is to recognize that I am a worshipper, like ubudiyya, sorry, abdness, ubudiyya, the state. But the second one is how I respond back to my creator. So this is ibadah, to worship in the verb form. And this one is, I guess, coming from this last stage he mentioned as through giving you love. So I am given love of the creator, love of the perfections that I observe in the existence. And if I realize that the source of this existence is the absolute, then this loving the absolute becomes a response to what I am receiving. So I am intentionally and lovingly, if you like, responding back. So, and this also finally, with this final paragraph, I feel like there is this duty of worship when he talks about the light duty of worship. I'll just reread this paragraph. O soul, you have received this wage, and you are charged with the pleasurable, bountiful, easy and light duty of worship. But you are lazy in this too. If you perform it half-heartedly, it is as though the former wages are insufficient for you, and you are overbearingly wanting greater things. An author is, I guess, describing my practical position as if by showing eagerness towards my Creator or doing the act of worship, I start getting into expectations from Creator as if He has to give it to me. This is interesting behavior actually, because this is how we do it when it comes to human. So let's say if I am behaving a friend of mine, if I start entering into good relationship with this friend, in return I am expecting a good favor from that friend. But friend and me, we are all at the same level, and friend has not given me anything, so I'm not really, the relationship between me and my friend, when it comes to this love relationship, there is no relationship of being a worshiper. I'm not bound to this friend. He is not my provider. He is not my sustainer. But since I get this habit of when I do a favor, I expect a return, I am applying this same model to my relationship with the Creator, as if I am doing a favor to the Creator when I love Creator. For example, when you love your child and you show some sacrifice to your child, you expect some return from your child. So likewise, when I love my Creator, and from this love, I start, let's say, showing appreciation of my Creator, then at some point I might start feeling like, well, see, oh Creator, I have been appreciating you. So make me successful in life, because I want to get into this and that job. But look at this other guy over there who doesn't even recognize you as his Creator. You granted him this good position in the job market, but not to me. So as if, I mean, this sort of a feeling comes and goes, especially, I guess, when it comes to success in worldly life. I might be getting into an expectation from my Creator in return to me recognizing my state as a worshiper. So it's an interesting behavior. The author is just highlighting this point, I guess, very superficially reading the text. And please raise your hands if you have any comments. I will be more than happy to stop. And then he adds, also, you are complaining, why was my prayer not accepted? But your right is not complaint, it is supplication. Through his pure grace and munificence, Almighty God bestows paradise and eternal happiness. So seek refuge in his mercy and munificence constantly. So before we pass to the next part, I just want to ask a question here. This is a thing that we keep hearing a lot. The author is also reminding us of this here. It says, Creator gives you paradise and eternal happiness through his pure grace and munificence, meaning you do not deserve to get into paradise. It's not your right. It's not something that you earn. But he gives it out of his pure grace and munificence. Anybody wants to make any comment about that? Do we really feel like this? Or like, if anything good happens to me, am I being thankful for that good thing happening to me, or am I feeling like I deserved it? Say if you are a quote unquote pious person, and then you get a pious son or daughter, shall I feel like I am being bestowed with it, or, well, yeah, God knows to whom he is going to give it. I deserved it, this is why he gave it to me. Or shall I feel like this? So if you have any thought about this, Brother Birkan, please go ahead.
Selamun alaikum. Jazakallah khairan for beautiful intro. So whenever we study something about prayer and worship, this author says it is not your right to complain, but it is supplication. So instead of complaining, you should supplicate. Almost every time we study worship and prayer, and this complaint comes after when we ask for something and it is not given. So I'm thinking like, I'm looking at my daughter. She has like all these luxury given to her. And with the luxury, I mean a soft blanket underneath, a few toys around, a bottle of food that she needs, a comfortable or warm, or in this weather, let's say a chilly house, and of course a merciful, loveful mother. Like thinking about all other possibilities and thinking about many children who lack all these luxuries. She's given almost everything she needs. But still, she's now shy and stopped shouting. But a few seconds ago, she was screaming because she wanted to be carried around, and why don't you carry me, show me around, let me play with things that I'm not allowed to play. Don't sit there. Don't let me, lay down on the ground. I want to be up. So just hug me and travel me. She wants something more. It's not enough. There's soft blanket, food, toys, a cozy house. She cannot say, oh, that's all I have and that's great, I'm comfortable. No, she has this capacity to explore, and she wants to use it. She wants to satisfy this need of her. And when it is not satisfied, she starts screaming. This is her way of communication, not because necessarily she's complaining, but she communicates. She says, I want this. And if you don't give it to me, I will continue wanting it. So why I'm telling this, I think this asking for something new, asking for something more, is almost part of our humanity, that it starts from early childhood. And it definitely it continues to exist with us as we get older. Probably it gets even, I don't know, more magnified as we get older. But it is there always. Like whatever our condition is, we ask for something new, something more. And author says, oh soul, you have received this wage, but you are lazy in this too. If you're anyway, like you asking more. Instead of appreciating, you asking more. And you should be, thankful, and you should show your appreciation, thanks, with worship, but you are lazy in this too. This is what you are. When I look at myself, yes, this is true. That's what I am. But what is the solution? Is the solution trying to, get rid of my desires to explore, to get something new, to learn something new, to gain something new? I don't know. Should I get rid of this desire? Should I get rid of this feeling? Or should my daughter be trained, quote unquote, not to ask for being carried around in the house to explore things? Should she be satisfied laying down on the ground all day on a cozy blanket and with toys? Because they are the bounties, they are very valuable bounties. Should I train her not to ask more? What is the solution? And the author says, if you perform it half-heartedly, it is as though the former wages are insufficient for you and you are overbearingly wanting greater things. So I read this sentence as, forget about if. This is what we are, right? We always worship half-heartedly. And he says this is because your former wages, whatever given to you, are not insufficient for you. And you asking more, but in return you say, why was my prayer not accepted? And then he says, but your right is not complaint, it is supplication. So it seems to me that the author is suggesting that, Birkan, you will ask something more. And sometimes it will not be given to you. Instead of complaining, see this as an opportunity to remind yourself. So I'm laying down comfortable in a comfortable position, everything's great, I want something more. This is me. An author says this feeling, this asking for something, it is so integral to you, and you should definitely not try to change it, but use it wisely. Use it properly. This asking for things is given to you to remind you that you are given things. You need something, you realize that you need something, and you ask for it. This realization, this feeling, this experience that I need something and I'm asking for it, should remind you that this is what you are, Birkan. You are in constant supplication. Don't use it for complaining, but use it for supplication, meaning use it to remind yourself, to realize that you are in constant supplication all the time. You asking something. This is what you are. You've been asking things all your life. And look at you. You lying on a soft blanket. It is given to you because you were asking for it. The ground was hard and not comfortable, and your Lord bestowed you with a soft blanket. Now remember it. So every time we ask something it's also a reminder for us that we are someone who asks. And all these things that author counted before are given to us. They are bestowed to us. So this asking works. We are sustained. This feeling that we have, asking for more, it is there as a means of worship, as a means of supplication, reminding us that we've been supplicating all our life. And most of them, the most important ones, the biggest of the bounties, are given to us, have been given to us. So I don't think author is telling us that you can change yourself, train yourself. You shouldn't ask something more. Don't ask for things. This is just the opposite, because in Quran, our Lord says, ask for everything. Our beautiful Prophet taught us to ask for everything constantly. Ask for it, because it will remind us that how much we've been asking so far and how much we've been given so far. Your right is not to complain, but it is supplication. So your desire to ask for more shouldn't be a means of complaining, but it should be a means of supplication for you, to remind you, you are a supplicator. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. So then can we say that when the author was as if criticizing we asking, actually he is criticizing the way we are asking with the word overbearingly wanting greater things, as if the previous wages are insufficient, overbearingly wanting greater things. But then he says, yeah, you should keep asking. Actually, this is your duty. This is what your duty is. Your duty is asking. But what is going to be the tone of my asking? What is the proper tone of asking? Because overbearingly asking is how it is when it comes to me asking a favor from my friend as a return. Because I'm saying that I did this to you, now it is your turn to give it back to me. Or sometimes I might be even more arrogant and say that my friendship is my best favor to you. If you would like to keep my friendship, then you should do this and that to me. So this is like an overbearingly asking for things. But when it comes to my relationship with my creator, me being the needy one, because of my need, I am, if I put it into words or not, actually, my whole life is all about asking. Each and every time I breathe, I'm asking for air, whether I'm aware of it or not. So he says, this is your duty, actually. Just realize that your duty is supplication. Your duty is asking from him, but because you are needy, not because as if somebody owes you something. This is how you are made to be. There's one word, I will just take you back to the beginning of this paragraph again. When he describes worship as a duty, he says, you have received this wage and you are charged with the pleasurable, bountiful, easy, and light duty of worship. Because when you say being charged with a duty, it sounds like a duty is a duty, and being charged is, no matter how small it is, like still it is like a weight, a burden. But in here, he is describing it as pleasurable and also bountiful. Like the worship itself is a bounty, he describes, because so far he has been describing bounties to us. And there's no question, yes, they are bounties. But is worshiping a bounty? How is worshiping a bounty? How is it bountiful? I guess pleasurable we can also ask about this. How come that me being a worshiper, or if we would like to go with a literal translation, being a slave, meaning that just recognizing my neediness, how come is it being pleasurable? But then this is how he defines it. So if you have any comments, I would be more than happy to hear. If not, we can continue with the next part of the discussion. Waiting for 5 seconds. Brother Birkan, please go ahead.
Jazakallah khairan. Since nobody's talking, and I'm after all the good deeds, I have to speak. So worship, how worship is a bounty, how it is something pleasurable. And tasteful. So I guess we can take it at different levels. Like when we take worship as at the, let's say, the obvious level, in which we perform some actions, we do prayer, which is part of worship, obviously. Is it a bounty? It, of course, depends on how you take it. If you are honest to yourself, and if you sometimes find yourself alone, sometimes you feel that you are alone by yourself in this universe, and you need someone who would understand you, who would listen to you, who would accept you, whatever you are, who wouldn't complain, who wouldn't criticize you, who wouldn't try to give you a speech, give you a lesson. Then a prayer, talking to your Lord, talking to your sustainer, even if it is just one way, it's a huge pleasure for you. And knowing how to pray, knowing how to talk to him, becomes a huge bounty. And then when we take worship as, another layer, as the author describes, as a appreciation, as a conveying, giving your thanks to your sustainer, who been sustaining you all your life. I guess we humans, we get pleasure when we show our appreciation. So when you eat something very beautiful, very tasteful, and your beloved one prepares it for you, serves it to you, eating it, it's definitely pleasurable. But saying thank you, it's definitely sometimes more pleasurable. Because it's, the first one, it's only for your stomach. But the second one, this appreciation and knowing that she or he is there for you. Your mother, your husband, your wife, your friend is there for you. He, she spent some time to prepare this just for you. And realizing that, reminding yourself this fact is, I really believe that it's really more pleasurable than what you eat. So appreciation and knowing where to direct this appreciation, because most of the time we don't know, we use it in the wrong places. We get a successful, we have an achievement, and we show our appreciation to our colleagues, to our friends, to our boss. And it does not satisfy us. We know deep inside that there's something wrong. The appreciation went for nothing. But when you appreciate the right source, when you appreciate the right person, the pleasure is, it's so intense. So worship, however you take it, it's definitely pleasurable. It's definitely a bounty. Because I know I have many wasted times in which I do not worship. And when I compare my moments of worship, I can see how it's a huge bounty for me. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. And I guess this concluding verse is very interesting. قُلْ بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا هُوَ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. Say, in the bounty of God and His mercy, in that let them rejoice. That is better than the wealth they collect. So what I understand from this verse is the very fact that I am the recipient of God's bounties and I am the recipient of God's mercy. This is something to be rejoiced in, rather than collecting bounties themselves, like trying to increase number of, like, let's assume money is a bounty. Rather than trying to increase amount of money in my pocket or whatever of that sort, success in my job is a bounty, but I am trying to just collect more of it. The Creator is saying that this is not where your satisfaction lies. And I can confirm that, because it's not that the more I have, I am getting more content. No, I am just feeling numb about if it increases, if it gets above a certain threshold, I stop getting pleasure from that and I look for something else. So increasing the bounties themselves without being aware of the source of bounty, the giver of bounty, like the fadl, or seeing that it is the bounty of the Creator, if I don't establish this connection, I don't enjoy it really. It becomes like a rat race. It increases my anxiety. There's sort of a joy just chasing this, but at the end, once I achieve, I say, was it that? Was I putting all this effort for that? And I realize that there is no satisfaction whatsoever, and it doesn't satisfy me as a human. And then I know that I wasted my life, wasted all the opportunities that was put in front of me. And this verse is very beautifully reminding me where I should be focusing on. Within the Creator being the giver of bounties and the Creator being the giver of mercy, I should be seeking for this satisfaction, this rejoice. And I can relate to that. Okay, then I continue with the next part. If you say, how can I respond to these countless universal bounties with my limited and partial thanks? I guess this question is a good question if it's a serious question. What I mean by a serious question, this might also be like a question for escapism. I can say that, well, what I mean by escapism is like, I am just this dust within this universe, this tiny thing in this universe. Sometimes another version of this escapism. Why would creator really care or bother about me doing something right or wrong? I am so insignificant, negligible. So if I just obey him or disobey him, do you really think that God is going to care about this? I mean, he is the one that turns the earth around the sun and sun around those galaxies and everything. Me being that insignificant, come on. So something similar in here. Now that we described all these, my whole existence being the recipient end of all those bounties, and now the author was suggesting being a worshipper, being in the state of a worshipper as the proper response. So I can either, as an escapist, ask the question, how am I going to pay back to that? It's impossible anyway. So let me not get into this trouble from the very beginning. But if this is a serious question, then it becomes a very correct question. It says, now I am overwhelmed by the amount of bounties that I have been receiving. I felt like I am being taken so serious. And human feels this, if you like, guilt for how am I going to respond? How am I going to pay back? Think of it like a very rich friend of yours comes to you and as a gift writes a check. Let's say Brother Birkan writes a check of $10,000 to me because of my newborn baby. Just hinting, not hinting anything, but anyways. So how would I feel? Shall I really take this check? If I take it, how am I going to pay it back? How am I going to respond back? I don't have this much money. And I feel like I need to pay back. So now, and I think this is very human to respond back the favor. So since it is the fact and it is the case that I am being the recipient of all the things, beginning from my existence all the way to be able to love the perfection of the Creator that is being manifest in the universe, meaning that to be able to get excited with the beauty of a rose as I connect the beauty of rose to its beautiful Creator, this is also a bounty. How am I going to respond back to this much of bounties? So now it becomes a very beautiful and very to the point question. Let us see what the author says as the answer. The answer, with a universal intention and boundless belief. Belief, in the original text, he used the word i'tiqad. With a universal intention and boundless belief. For example, what do you mean by that? A man enters a king's presence with a gift worth 5 cents, and he sees that other gifts worth millions have arrived from acceptable people and have been lined up there. It occurs to him, my present is nothing. What shall I do? Then he says suddenly, my Lord, I offer you all these valuable gifts in my name. All these gifts meaning the gift of those other people that are offering to the king. Oh my Lord, I offer you all these valuable gifts in my own name, for you are worthy of them. If I had the power, I would have given you gifts equal to them. Thus the king, who has need of nothing and accepts his subjects' gifts as a sign of their loyalty and respect, accepts that wretched man's universal intention and wish, and the worthiness of his elevated belief as though it was the greatest gift. So he accepts that wretched man's universal intention and wish, and the worthiness of his elevated belief as though it was the greatest gift. In exactly the same way, while performing the 5 daily prayers, an impotent servant of Almighty God declares, "Salutations be to God, at-tahiyyatu lillah." That is, I offer you on my own account all the gifts of worship all creatures offer you through their lives. If I had been able, I would have offered you as many salutations as them, for you are worthy of them and worthy of more besides. Such an intention and belief comprise extensive universal things. The seeds and grains of plants are their intentions. And for example, the melon, now he is, so let me pause here. So he gave an example of how a wretched man could give a gift to the king in terms of being, in terms of this, it's simply an intention. We keep hearing this intention word a lot, but I believe author is putting it into a good context in here. What does it mean that my intention within the worship is going to make my worship worthy? Because like in the environment that I grew up, intention was generally being used, I mean, it's overused in the sense that somebody who is being lazy about worship, for example, can say that, oh yeah, my heart is clean, my intentions are sound. Even if I'm not doing the prayer or this and that, I have a clear heart. God knows me. And I can use this for an excuse, but I mean, this is clear, everybody knows this. And it's even becoming funny to just mention it in this discussion. But I'm questioning myself. Am I using the verse intention as such, or the author in here, how does he describe this intention? This is why I guess this very nice picturing of this wretched man saying, but truly feeling while saying that all these people are, like in the example, all these wealthy people giving you very valuable gifts of thousands or millions, worthy of millions. I'm giving you this 5 cents gift. But if I were able, I would have given you all of these gifts. So please accept it from me as if I have them and I am offering them to you. And now he gives an example of this from human life. And he uses this very beautiful conversation that we have when we sit in the prayer, when we say at-tahiyyat to lillah. So just to remember, where does this conversation take place? At-tahiyyat to lillah. This is a conversation that takes place during the ascension of the messenger. So when messenger has this at the end of his journey of Isra and Miraj, he has this conversation with the Creator. And we also have this conversation at the end of our prayer as well, when we sit before saying salam. So he says, so when you see someone, for instance, how do you salute them? You say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, right? So the messenger's salutation to the Creator is at-tahiyyatu lillah. So what does this at-tahiyyatu lillah mean? So this tahiyya comes from hayya, like life. So it's, as the author is explaining in here, that is, I offer you on my own account all the gifts of worship all creatures offer you through their lives. If I had been able, I would have offered you as many salutations as them, for you are worthy of them and worthy of more besides. I observe that living beings all around me, they are all like a plant is proclaiming the greatness of the Creator with its beautiful green leaves and beautiful branches and its roots and everything. I see a fish, it's with its life, a different type of bounty life, like bounty of life is given to it. It's different than human life. It has different senses, different way of living and everything, but it also proclaims the greatness of its creator. As a human, I do it as much as a human can do. So, but human can extend it by saying that, oh, my creator, I can observe the greatness of your manifestation in that tree out there as well. If I were able, I would love to and I would like to proclaim your greatness just as this tree is doing. So accept it from me. This is what at-tahiyyatu lillah means. So I guess this is what this universal intention, as author explains it, this is what universal intention could be understood as. My intention of worshiping the Creator with the tongue of a tree, with the tongue of a fish, with the tongue of the sun and the moon and all the particles, which requires me to be aware of their salutations. So then he finishes this paragraph saying, such an intention and belief comprise extensive universal thanks. Then he adds an interesting sentence. The seeds and grains of plants are their intentions. Let's see where he is going to take this to. I'll read the rest of the text and then we will talk about this inshallah. By the way, if you have any comments, please raise your hand. Still, we have more than half an hour. And for example, the melon utters 1,000 intentions in its heart in the form of the nuclei of its seeds. O my Creator, I want to proclaim the embroideries of your most beautiful names in many places on the earth. Since Almighty God knows how future things will come about, He accepts their intention as actual worship. The rule, a believer's intention is better than his actions, alludes to this mystery. The wisdom in offering glorifications in also infinite numbers is understood from this mystery. For instance, glory and praise be unto you, to the number of your creatures, that may be as pleasing to you as the extent of your throne and the ink of your words, and we glorify you with all the glorifications of your prophets and saints and angels. So the Arabic of this glorification is Subhanaka wa bihamdika adada khalqika wa ridha'a nafsik wa zinata arshik wa midada kalimatik wa nusabbihuka bi jami'i tasbihati anbiya'ika wa awliyaika wa malaikatik. Just as an officer presents all the duties of his soldiers to the king in his own name, so man who acts as officer to other creatures, commands the animals and plants, has the capacity to be God's vicegerent over the beings of the earth, vicegerent Khalifa, and in his own world considers himself to represent everyone, declares, you alone do we worship, and from you alone do we seek help. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. He offers the worship and seeking of help of all creation to the all-glorious true object of worship in his own name. He also says, O God, grant blessings to Muhammad والسلام, to the number of the particles in existence and all their compounds. اللهم صل على محمد بعدد ذرات الكائنات ومركباتها. He offers benedictions for the Prophet in the name of everything, because everything is connected with the Muhammadan light. Thus, you may understand the wisdom in the countless numbers mentioned in the glorifications and benedictions for the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. This is the end of text. So now let's go back and let me hear your comments. What do you understand? Why did the author bring up this sentence? The seeds and grains of plants are their intentions. And he alluded to very famous hadith or rule, he says. A believer's intention is better than his actions. Oh, they say this is a rule. I don't know if this is the hadith. It says Al-Manavi or Al-Fayt Al-Qadir. So I don't know these books. So any ideas? Why did he bring up this different perspective now? Before this, he was talking about human worshipping or presenting the worship of the rest of the universe to the Creator in his own name. This was the topic. Then he brought in, so it was about intention. Then he brought in the seeds and grains of plants are their intentions. And then he gave this example of a melon. Any ideas? If I keep talking while waiting, you guys are not talking at all. If I don't talk while waiting, then it's being an awkward silence. So, okay, now there is a Brother Birkan, please go ahead.
Jazakallah khair, and I really want to contribute here, but I'm trying to understand. I'm not sure. Like it's not clear to me how these seeds being intentions of the watermelon or the fruit or any plant. So I can understand it being an intention or it being a let's say a potential that can put into action, but I don't see how it is related to this narration. A believer's intention is better than his actions. So I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to share my ideas, but to be honest, I'm a little lost there.
Jazakallah khair. Anybody who can guide Brother Birkan out of his lost state? Yes, Muhammad Said, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Not the guide, but I will try to share what I am trying to understand, what I am given. It is kind of a seed has a potential to become something. That's my observation. But the potential that is with the seed itself does not require for it to be turned into be a watermelon. What I mean by this, in order for the seed to grow out of its potential or reach its goal, the intention, the whole universe needs to serve, needs to be in the service of the seed, and the seed cannot really make the universe to come to it. So in a way, a seed with its potential is a proclamation or a call for the maker, from the maker of the universe, to give to realize its potential. That's how I take the example, and I am in need of guidance too. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, very beautiful. So then can we say that when I look at this seed and what comes out of seed, like this melon that comes out of seed is beyond the reach of the seed, something that it cannot even imagine. So because as you were saying, like sun needs to be there, earth needs to revolve around the sun, day and night, air, water, everything needs to be subservient to that seed for a melon to come out of that seed. So it's not something that is accomplishable by this needy seed, because in and of itself, seed doesn't have anything. It's incapable of bringing anything into existence. There's only this intention in there, like there's this plan in there. Likewise for me, and as it was being described before, I am the recipient already, and I'm incapable. So I'm even incapable of raising my hand. I'm just willing to raise my hand and hoping that my hand is going to be raised, and it is being raised. So the only thing I have is nothing but this choice already. So as if the author is saying that expand this. In your inner circle, you don't have anything more than this choice or will or intention anyways. But you feel like as if since I wish to raise my hand is raised. But you didn't raise your hand, you only wished to raise your hand. That's all you did. So since this is your capital is nothing but just choosing or proclaiming your truth. You don't have anything more than that. You can only admit the truth or deny the truth. So just expand this. Say that I would be willing to worship as much as this tree does, as much as the sun does. Or let's make it even more real. Do I observe that sun is worshiping the creator, meaning that sun is also needy of being part of that order. It's not that sun is inherently within an order. No, sun is being put into that order, and sun is in need of that order. Otherwise, it could have been exploded, or it's just going to disappear. But it is turning around itself within an order. It is sending me light within an order. Everything is within an order. And as I am incapable of doing anything, sun is also incapable of doing anything. It's beyond the power of sun to come all the way to that plant with those photons and do some job in the leaves of this plant. Like sun needs to be knowing how a plant is going to work and send its rays all the way to here and start working in that leaf to produce food that I need, to produce air that I need. This is beyond the power of sun, because whoever does this must be the one who is governing the whole universe, the whole existence. So if I observe that sun is also worshiping, meaning that sun is also needy and is being provided, I would get excited and say that, oh my creator, I would be like, I am adding this neediness of sun and you being the provider of it, which is now the picture of worshiping. I would like to add this. If I was able, capable, I would like to do it. So accept it from me as if I have done it. So this is why I guess he is just extending my intention. And he says the whole universe is nothing but also all about intentions. They don't do anything either. You don't do anything. You don't give existence to anything. This is what I mean by I don't do anything. So the thing that I'm boastful about, I don't own any of them. Likewise, watermelon is not being owned by its seed or anything that comes out of sun. Sun cannot come and say that, oh, you are you should all be thankful to me, because without my light, you will neither have food, nor light, nor air, nothing. No, sunlight doesn't say that. Sun doesn't say that. So everything is all but an intention. So all the thing that I observe is being given and being provided by the all glorious provider. So tying this to a believer's intention is better than his actions now. So if I consider my actions as my actions, what is it that I give, to which actions of mine do I give existence to? But to the extent that I realize that I don't own anything, but I just wish, or I will, then I can fix this part. I cannot fix anything beyond that. The only thing I have, if you like, control over is how am I going to locate myself in terms of admitting my neediness or denying my neediness. If I deny my neediness, I would start claiming that I am powerful, I own this, I can manage it, I can do it. But if I realize my neediness, like if I don't deny my truth, and if I admit it, that's all I can do. This is why I think this intention, a believer's intention, is better than his actions, because I don't own any action really. This is how I understand this, a believer's intention is better than his actions. Muhammad Said, please go ahead.
About this, the last point, intention, a believer's intention, and a believer's action. It means any action potentially can turn into be an universal worship, because any action, a person or anything, any person does, any believer does, any action is actually possible by the will of the maker of the universe. Any action, even moving a hand or traveling with a car. So in that sense, the emphasis on the intention in order to make the actions universally meaningful. That's beautiful.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. So then from here, he is now transitioning to the large numbers that are being mentioned in glorifications. Like these are famous glorifications that he mentions in here. The wisdom in offering glorifications in also infinite numbers is understood from this mystery. So like Subhanaka wa bihamdika adada khalqik. So glory and praise be unto you to the number of your creatures. Like with huge numbers, I'm praising the Creator. Like, is this like a trick I am doing? Just telling large numbers and I'm trying to trick the Creator? Or what is the meaning behind that? What should be the intention behind that? What's the point of saying those large numbers? And if I go to my mom and say that, oh, mom, I love you more than the universe, I love you more than the sun, this and that, it's going to sound poetic. Well, I mean, you might have this feeling towards your mother, and maybe mothers are more soft-hearted, but I doubt if I can fool my wife by saying that, oh, I love you more than, I don't know, beans. I guess this is, then she would believe, I guess, if I say this, since I love beans more than anything. So I love you more than beans. I love you more than like the rice, or more than sun, more than moon. So maybe she would turn back and ask me, what did you do wrong? Why are you telling me those like exaggerating words. Did you do something wrong and seeking for my forgiveness? So what is the motivation when I say this to the Creator, right? So I guess he is now beautifully locating those words, those numbers into a context. Glory and praise be unto you to the number of your creatures that may be as pleasing to you as the extent of your throne and the ink of your words. And these are things to discuss, since it's not the exact context, but what does it mean that is pleasing to you as the extent of your throne? What is throne of the Creator? What is the ink of Creator's words? So, like throne of the Creator, I will just quickly pass something that was mentioned in previous discussions. I will just drop it in here and continue. Throne of the Creator is the universe. Like if I say, I guess we discussed this a while ago, like in old days, India is there's a throne of the England, King of England in India, once it was occupied by the British. So it's not that Britain is not the only throne of that king. He or she also used to have a throne in India, and he, meaning, implying that this is where the kingship of that ruler is manifest. So throne of the Creator is the whole universe. Throne of the Creator is human heart. Throne of the Creator is like a bird that you're looking at, because you observe all beautiful names being manifest in there within an order, like being governed within an order. So now the in here in this glorification, this to the extent of your throne is being mentioned. And then there's this mentioning of ink of your words. What is the ink of words of the Creator? Because there's a verse which says, if the trees were to be pen and the sea was to be ink, they would be insufficient to write the words of your Creator. So it looks like imagine all the seas being an ink and them being insufficient for writing the words of the Creator. What does that mean? Is this an exaggeration? Because Word of God is just the 600-page book that fits in between my fingers. Instead, the whole existence is, if you like, every particle that's moving is the tip of pen of the Creator. With them, the Creator is writing his verses in the existence. And a human face is a beautiful word, speech of the Creator, which is being written with all the billions of particles or however large numbers. So the ink of the Creator's word is, again, the creation itself. So all of these terms actually in this glorification carries large numbers. And we glorify you with all the glorifications of your prophets and saints and angels. If you want to make any comments, stop me. Otherwise, I will continue reading. Just as an officer, now this is a very interesting one. Just as an officer presents all the duties of his soldiers to the king in his own name, so man, who acts as officer to other creatures, commands the animals and plants, has the capacity to be God's vicegerent over the beings of the earth, and in his own world considers himself to represent everyone. In his own world considers himself to represent everyone, and declares, you alone do we worship, and from you alone do we seek help. He offers the worship and seeking of help of all creation to the all-glorious true object of worship in his own name. Brother Birkan, please go ahead.
Jazakallah khairan. I guess this word vicegerent, at least to me, it explains what author describing above about all these numbers and, as you were saying, exaggerated appreciation or exaggerated glorification. So man, human being, God's vicegerent, I guess, at least in this context, it may mean different things, definitely in different contexts. But within this current context, it means that we are able to see what's happening in the universe. We are able to see, understand, question, even go beyond what we see with naked eyes and make inferences, talk about atoms, subatomic particles, or things which are so huge that, again, we cannot see, like the universe, the cosmos, star systems, black holes, whatever. That we have these connections with every aspect, every tiny bit of the universe. And we have these infinitely many different connections. We can think about them, we can love them, we can hate them, we can wonder about them, we can get scared of them. So we are God's vicegerent because we have these infinitely many connections with infinitely many things in the universe. And at infinitely many layers, infinitely like in an infinite depth, we have these connections. That means we can appreciate all these things in all these different ways. We are like appreciation machineries. We see things and we appreciate them, we understand them, we enjoy them. It's really interesting. Like other day, I was looking at a worm. I don't know if you would say worm for turtle in Turkish. Maybe, oh, there's another word, right? Caterpillar. Anyway, like this animal. And only thing it can does like crawling. Cannot even walk. But I was watching it and I was appreciating the design, appreciating how it moves. Like I was not saying that, oh, I'm a human, I'm better than it. I can walk, I can run, it cannot. Whatever I see there, I appreciate it for some reason. I realize that within its own existence, it is created perfectly. I can understand it. I can almost empathize with this caterpillar. So such a, the representation of this caterpillar to his God, to his Lord, its Lord. So this is what I understand from representing them. Like I know, I can understand how this caterpillar is being created in a beautiful way, in a wise way, in a, the most artistic way. I can appreciate this. And this appreciation of mine, again, directed to Creator. So with all these infinitely many connections I can make with the universe, I have all these infinitely many appreciations, which, that translates into infinitely many glorifications. So when author says, glory and praise unto you to the number of your creatures, it's not an exaggeration because I can communicate with, I can interact with every creatures of him. I can appreciate every creatures of him. I'm a vicegerent. Hence, glory and praise unto you to the number of your creatures. With every creature I see, I send my glorification. So I think it's not an exaggeration, because like first and foremost, it's not an exaggeration for me describing that, like when he says the number of your creatures, it implies that I know about your creatures, all of your creatures. I can interact with them. And this is not an exaggeration, definitely. Just think about yourself. Think about your capacity to interact with the universe, every particle in the universe, and you will see that it's not an exaggeration. So since you are such a vicegerent, since you have such an infinite capacity, saying that you are glorifying your Lord to the extent, to the number of his creatures, it's not an exaggeration at all. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. And as he now takes the example of إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ as one of the most beautiful and frequently used example of this intention. It is, he gave the example of At-Tahiyyatu Lillah, which is again embedded in the prayer, and also إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, which is, we keep repeating it in every rak'ah of the prayer, daily prayers. So you alone do we worship, and from you alone do we seek help. So I guess we in here is, it's not I seek, I worship you, I seek your help, not like that, but we seek, but I declare it, as if like praying, doing the prayer with congregation is much more rewardful, as like in the narrations it's 27 times more rewardful. So as if this one is saying that, yes, like the first meaning, the first and clear meaning of this is have this congregation among mankind, like with your fellow humans, do this congregation, do worship together and say, we worship to you, we seek your help. But also include the whole existence in your prayer, as if you become their imam in the prayer, because vicegerent in this case now becomes imam in the prayer, and you say, we seek your help, we worship you, meaning I and sun, I and the moon, I and the tree and the beans and the rice, we all seek, we worship you, we declare our neediness before you, and we seek your help, meaning that we are needy, we are being provided, and you are the provider. And I am aware of that. On behalf of them, I am declaring this glorification to you. Accept it from me, as if I would love to do it by myself. The only thing I have is intention, though. I do not have the action, I only have the intention. So please accept this sincere intention from me. There was one more supplication in here, which for whatever reason was not written in the translation. It has a similar meaning. I will just quote it. It says, and also, سبحانك بجميع تسبيحات جميع مخلوقاتك وبألسنة الجميع مسنوعاتك. He says, and he makes the whole existence speak on his own behalf. And the glorification is, glory be to you with all the glorifications of your creation, and with the tongues of all your artwork, with their own tongues. You include, man includes their worship in his own worship. And then he brings the discussion to the salawat, benediction to the Prophet, in the last part. And so we have a few more minutes. I will read this last part. He also says, O God, grant blessings to Muhammad والسلام, to the number of the particles in existence and all their compounds. So again, now, what is the point of, is the point in here to say a large number? Because in the previous parts, we saw that it was not about just to indicate a large number. We are saying, oh God, Subhanak, like be glorification to you, to the numbers of the particles. We didn't say it just to express a large number. We said it because we were observing that every particle is glorifying the Creator. So I would like to glorify you to the number of particles, meaning that I am aware that every particle is glorifying you, and I am presenting you their glorification as if they are mine. So there was this relationship between those numbers. It's not merely a large number. But now when it comes to the messenger, what's the point of, again, using those large numbers in terms of like the number of particles? What is the relationship between the messenger and the creation? So I'll read it from here. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin bi'adadi dharratil kainat wa murakkabatiha. So to the number of the particles in existence and all their compounds. What is the relationship between the messenger and the number of and the particles and the compounds of particles? What does that mean? He offers benediction for the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, in the name of everything, because everything is connected with the Muhammadan light. So anybody wants to talk about this? What does it mean that everything is connected with Muhammadan light? He says everything, yeah, Nur Muhammad, Nur Ahmadi. Actually, it says Nur Ahmadi. So everything is related to Muhammadan light, or the light of Ahmad. How is everything related to the light of Ahmad? What is light of Ahmad in this last moments of discussion? Brother Birkan?
Very shortly, like one thing comes to my mind is everything is connected through his light, which is the message and the worldview that he taught us, brought to us. Because through this message, through this worldview, I am connected to everything. And without this, everything exists in isolation by themselves. And they actually fight against each other. But through his light, through the worldview that he brought, introduced us, and practiced with us, I am connected to everything. I can benefit from everything. I can appreciate everything through the light that he brought to us.
Jazakallah khair. So with the so let me use a little bit of a modern day word, then I will step back to what you used. Like with the perspective that he brought in, if I look at with the lens that he brought in, if I look at the universe, the existence, then I observe them as worshipping. This is why everything is related to this lens, this perspective, or using the author's word, this light. Without the light that was brought to us with the messengers in general, and Muhammad ﷺ in our case specifically, I wouldn't be able to see what the purpose of this existence is. I would be plunged into darkness of, I own myself, everything owns themselves, we are fighting with each other, what's it, like survival of the fittest, and might has right. So I need to fight harder to win over this coronavirus, this and that. The world is going to become a dark place. I'm going to plunge into this darkness. So even coronavirus is happy with the light that Muhammad ﷺ brought in. Because without his light, coronavirus is nothing but like a barbarian killing people's lives, while it itself not being a living being according to taxonomy of our sciences, like a virus. So it doesn't even benefit from anything. It just spread itself all over the place, but it's not enjoying the life. So what sort of a I guess I'm getting angry if I look at from that perspective. What sort of a stupidity is that, you would say? But if you take it from another perspective, if you see that this is being part of the order that is governing the whole universe, the one that gives life is the one that gives disease and health and also death. And this coronavirus is just a reminder for that. It's as if saying that, be careful, you are forgetting where life is coming from, where sustenance is coming from. You take it for granted. Here I am a reminder for you for the importance and value of all those gifts and them being gifts rather than taking things for granted. Then it becomes like a herald, just a reminder of news. So in this regard, if I say all benedictions be to the Muhammad والسلام, to the number of coronaviruses on the globe, with the intention saying that with the light that he brought, I start understanding the purpose and meaning behind this apparently ugly creation. I start seeing beauty behind it. Otherwise, it would have been very dark for me. And I guess this can be applied to anything and everything in this existence. So with the message that was brought to me by the messenger, the whole universe becomes a enlightened, beautiful, paradise-like place. Otherwise, the universe becomes like a hell. And I am, as if the life that I live becomes, I am in the death row. I am just waiting for my turn to be hanged. Alhamdulillah. So let's stop here. Any concluding remarks? If not, so let's stop here then. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك وبحمدك عدد خلقك ورضاء نفسك وزنة عرشك ومداد كلماتك ونسبحك بجميع تسبيحات أنبيائك وأوليائك وملائكتك. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. سبحانك بجميع تسبيحات جميع مخلوقاتك وبألسنة جميع مصنوعاتك. اللهم صل على محمد بعدد ذرات الكائنات ومركباتها. صلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.